Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council's Cabinet. This is a public meeting that is being recorded. I remind members around the table to use their desktop microphones to speak, and also welcome to, we've got one councillor in the public gallery today, and obviously follow my guidance and instructions as the meeting goes on. Mobile phones should be switched off or set to silent. There are no planned fire drills during the meeting, and fire exits are clearly marked in the event of an alarm being activated. Do please follow the direction of staff. So I'd like to welcome Cabinet members and officers to the meeting. I've got Cabinet members today: Craig Skeldon, Portfolio Holder for Leisure, Culture and Heritage, Councillor Jill Heatham, Portfolio Holder for Community Safety and Wellbeing, David Hutchins, Portfolio Holder for Sustainable Environment, and Andy Fear, Portfolio Holder for Strategic Planning. And sitting next to me is Deputy Leader and Portfolio Holder for Finance, Town Centres and Growth, Stephen Sweeney, and I'm Leader of the Council, Simon Tagg. So we'll, first of all, item number 1 is apologies. Don't have any because all Cabinet members are here. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations for items on the agenda from Cabinet members? Not seeing any. So that brings us to item 3, which is the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on attached on the agenda on page 3 onwards. Can we agree those as the correct record? Agreed. And then our first item of business is our Wally's Quarry update. We've had this update on as the first item on our agenda now for many years. I can say that now as we deal with the constant issues from Wally's Quarry, the quarry that are affecting our community with the gas odours that are originating from that site. And the report takes the usual format, talking about complaints, talking about the monitoring equipment, talking about the actions of the Environment Agency, of other partners, and also the Borough Council with its legal action, which I now call the Chief Executive to just take us through the report and give us the details on the action since our last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So this report sets out data of and an update over the last 3 months from July of this year to date, but focuses particularly on data from September through to the present time. In respect of odour complaints in August and September were lower than in previous months, but in the first week of October have increased significantly again. There were, however, 3 odour events in September where over 10 complaints have been received in a single day. In respect of odour monitoring, officers have completed both 5-minute odour assessments and spot assessments. Both of these assessment types identified a range of odour intensities up to and including a strong odour. For air quality data, the percentage exceedance of the World Health Organization annoyance level per week is reported in the report in table 2.12. This shows that the level of hydrogen sulfide is variable, with the week commencing 30th September showing 18.7% exceedance of the WHO annoyance level in that week. That also concurred with the peak in complaints data. Complaints do continue to correlate well to air quality data. The graph in section 2.13 of the report shows that good correlation throughout the relevant periods. We updated Cabinet at its last meeting on the actions arising from the Committee of Inquiry. That was presented to Council on the 25th of September. The report provides details of the recommendations and an update on those actions which are under the control of the Borough Council, including the letters issued to relevant parties. I wanted to highlight the Environment Agency car forms, details of which were published by the EA and are included within the report. Of particular note is the car form dating back to 31st of March of this year, where a 16.1 CCS score was given. The EA stated that they are concerned that non-compliances in 2023 have continued into 2024. Wally's Quarry Limited was issued with a warning in respect to the Q4 2023 Environmental Monitoring Report non-compliances, but has failed to take appropriate remedial action to prevent further non-compliances. So a quote from the Environment Agency there. On 10th of September, Wallis Quarry Limited published an information update in relation to their investigations in respect to the recent fire on site. That detail is available on the Wallis Quarry Limited website and also contained within this report. Finally, Leader, the KPIs, as we always publish. So those for Newcastle-under-Lyme for July to September are attached in Appendix 2, and the KPIs for Wallis Quarry Limited for August are attached in Appendix 3. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gordon. I think, as we can see from the data that's within the report, obviously complaints are beginning to edge up again as we get into the autumn period. We're seeing some of the monitoring equipment showing an increase. I think this is nothing more than we expected, I think, from this site. As we've seen in other years, it's running true to form, I think. I think, again, we have not seen in this period any, sort of concrete action from the Environment Agency. We believe that this site should be closed, and all of the things that should happen when it's closed, such as the capping or the restoration, should take place. What we are seeing is, I think, changes taking place at the company. We've seen board changes. Again, we don't really understand what is happening there. There's no explanation for that. Tonight, there is a Wallis Quarry liaison meeting. I should be attending that, and the meeting will be recorded and made available. I think at that meeting, questions need to be asked of the operator. Has anything changed? What are you up to? Interesting to see what their response will be to that. As for the Environment Agency, we've heard from the new government now. A minister wrote back to my letter that I sent in July, refusing a public inquiry or even committing to a public inquiry at this stage, which was disappointing. But on the plus side, myself and the Chief Executive did have a brief Teams meeting with the Health Minister, who was very keen to try and support the community and get the message to his colleagues in DEFRA that the EA, the Environment Agency, need to take some action really to try and stop these health implications that are affecting our communities both long term and short term. So I think there is a will I see politically within the new government to take action. But of course, we had that from the previous government, of course, through good words coming from ministers and MPs, but actually no actual action to bring this crisis to an end. From our point of view, we've gone public with the latest on the legal action that we're intending to take, saying all that we can in public without giving too much information to the person we will be taking the action against, in this case Wallis Quarry Limited, and more information will be available as we get towards the end of October. But I'm keen for that to be done at pace, and it is being done at pace within all of the legal requirements in which we have to adhere to take the action. So I think trepidation over the next few months, I think, with what's going to happen with the cold weather has arrived. And that will lead to historically increases. And of course, people have got to live with this in their lives, particularly those closest to the site. So we need action from the Environment Agency still. And I think we're like a broken record at this meeting, isn't it? We can do all we can through our limited powers, and we are doing for the legal action. We can ask the EA and the Environment Agency to do all of these things, but in the end, they've got to do these things, and they've got to help to bring this crisis to a close. So I would again call on them to use their powers to bring this site to a close after this long issue that has been affecting our communities. And we're up now to Cabinet members. Andy first.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think the phrase broken record, sadly, is the appropriate one. I go home on my bicycle very close to this site most evenings, and I have noticed that the nuisance is picking up. And as I've said before, again, it sounds like a broken record. I have every sympathy with the people living down adjacent to the site. I know when I cycle through it, it's foul, but I come out the other side, and normally when I get home, I am not troubled by this, and it's outrageous that this happens. I was stunned by what the new minister said as regards the call for a public inquiry. Now, this isn't my political party, but I felt very let down by the previous government in this regard, and I genuinely look for new measures. But the notion that the EA is taking robust measures is bizarre. We all know in an evidence-based way that this is simply not the case. And it does make you wonder what planet the minister is living on, quite frankly. Who are they listening to? So I still think we should be pressing hard for a public inquiry. People say to me on a regular basis when this is raised, what have they got to hide? And it's without that inquiry, those questions are going to continue being there, undermining any confidence we have in agencies that we pay for and expect to look after ourselves. So this is a very sorry story, and I hope very strongly that we've heard that there are some ministers there who take a positive view, that we should be looking for pressure in Parliament to bring this thing to a head, to have an inquiry, and as you said, Simon, also to get this site closed. That is the end game, and we really need help to do all we can. The council has now been trying to do this for a very long time. We need extra help to make sure that the people who live in parts of our borough who are plagued by this don't have to put up with it anymore.
Thank you, Andy. Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, what Andy says is a fair point. What have they got to hide? We don't know because it's hidden. It'd be interesting to find out, though, wouldn't it? What I'm actually going to ask, Gordon, if I can ask you this, there's a couple of lines here about the smell being different on a couple of days. It's on there, 2.1. And I travel up and down Cemetery Road quite often for various reasons, least of which is my allotment. And noticed that. I've not noticed it more than 2 days as well. There is definitely, it's not just a rotten egg smell, there's something else in the air that I'm picking up. Not necessarily these 2 days, but just in general, it just smells, it smells a bit different. Have you got any more information on that at all, apart from this, you've got quotes for 2 days, is that it?
Thank you. I think the specific point there was officers were looking at whether there were concurrent events happening, so spreading on fields, etc., because there was quite an intense smell. I recall this in the town on those 2 days as well. But for Wally's Quarry more broadly, it is quite a sort of personal experience. For those living near the site, and it's highly variable in respect to kind of atmospheric conditions. So what the weather's doing, where you are, the intensity of the smell, whatever the odour is, it is affecting people's lives. And that was an issue that we raised with the minister in the meeting, is this is not just a physical health issue, important as that is and critical as that is, and that's recognised by the UK HSA, but it's a mental health issue as well. It's the not knowing what's coming, not knowing what you're going to experience, the day today, the day after, or any day in the future, and that just reinforces the need. While there may be other sources of smells at different times, this is the constant, and we're seeing that through the complaints data, and we'll continue to work with the UK HSA and others to bring this to conclusion, as the leader says.
Okay, yes, I mean, there are, for many years, people have also smelt the other things, such as the manure and the muck spraying on the fields. That happens anyway, but I think anybody that knows the Wally's Quarry smell knows of that sort of unique sort of egg, sulphur, horrible sort of smell, which can't be mistaken with anything else, and that is on the rise again, as we can see in these figures. I think also from the last time we met, we have taken through Council the Scrutiny of Inquiry report, and the Chief Executive is moving forward on implementing the recommendations, and also, again, calling for a public inquiry. Again, this broken record thing, we must keep going and going on this, because it's really important that we do. Keep up the pressure until we get what we need and desire for the public, which is that public inquiry into why this has happened, why it's taken so long to get to any sort of, in the first place, realisation that there was an issue by the Environment Agency before they actually started to take it seriously. And also the fact that we don't want this to happen anywhere else or any other community suffer over this long period, which has happened here. For the communities around Newcastle, we need to prevent that from happening again as much as possible. So look forward to working with the chief executive on making sure those recommendations are implemented, and also that we progress our legal action. And of course, as I said earlier, we'll let the public know as much as we can, as soon as we can, and as we progress that through the period. One last thing I want to talk about, which isn't associated with the Borough Council's responsibility, but an upsurge of complaints about lorry movements around the site at early hours in the morning. The County Council are aware of that. The police are also going to do some joint action with the County Council on that, and of the County Council planning officers. I've been in touch with the operator to try and understand, why the vehicles are coming in earlier and what's happening on site that is creating this stacking and this convoy effect. So again, that's likely to be mentioned tonight at the liaison committee meeting. And of course, as I said earlier, the liaison committee video from the meeting will be available to the public. But as for the moment, the report is to be noted. All agreed? Thank you. That moves on to the next item, which is the item 5 contract award for the digital infrastructure project. Steve's leading on this one.
Thank you again, Lee. This cabinet report is here today to approve the appointment of ITS Technology Group as a delivery partner for the delivery of a fibre network in the Newcastle Town Deal area, following a procurement exercise. The digital infrastructure project is one of several projects within the Town Deal Board investment plan, who approved this project at their recent Town Deal Board meeting. This project will bring superfast broadband with gigabyte speeds, utilising the existing ductwork routes underneath our highways. This contract is to provide the hardwiring through these ducts for this provision. This new network will then link up to a provider who will provide the actual service to residents and businesses who will be selected as phase 2 of this project. There will also be the development of the several digital hubs in our communities, where access to the gigabyte network will be made available as part of the overall project. Things like our community centres or the museum and things like that can be brought into this. Deployment of a fibre network is expected to bring substantial benefits in enabling business and community digital connectivity in areas that are not being served by the commercial market, or where there is potential to help overcome digital exclusion in local communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Really, really welcome this. I think when we talk about our town deal, we think about the regeneration in the town, don't we? Yeah. The physical regeneration. We've seen that begin to happen now across the board, both in Newcastle and in Kidsgrove. But for the Newcastle Town Deal area, which of course covers mainly the urban wards in Newcastle, it doesn't cover the villages or Kidsgrove are not going to benefit from this because there's a plan within the Kidsgrove Newcastle Town Deal. Sorry. It was really key that we wanted to increase connectivity in a sustainable way. And we've already seen, as part of the town deal, a new, potentially 2 new bus services going in the borough on the back of town deal funding. This is to get the town deal area connectivity in faster than it already would have been. It has been rolled out across the county anyway by providers, and the government have given quite a lot of money towards keying that up and ensuring that the areas that are usually left out with poor connections get those connections they need in the villages, etc. But for our town deal area, this is a really unique opportunity, I think, to use this money to get good, fast internet connection, not only for residents but for businesses as well, because obviously the world of business operates on online transactions, and having a fast, reliable connection is really key for that. So Newcastle is a place to come and open your business. We're going to have regeneration and office spaces and shops, etc. in the regeneration plans, and this will help to connect them. I think using our community centres out in the communities as hubs for this could give them a new lease of life, and also will create that sort of connectability in the local area as well. So really encouraged with this, and that we've appointed a delivery partner for this, and look forward to it coming to fruition and people getting that better connection and skills, hopefully connected into better skills and jobs as well as an end result out of this. So looking for any comments or questions on this after Steve's introduction. Not seeing any. So again, it's another milestone on the town deal fund which we had from the previous Conservative government, which was that £23.5 million for Newcastle, and this award of the digital infrastructure project is a key part of that. We do have a confidential element to this report, which we'll be discussing in confidential sitting later, which has got some of the facts and figures around the cost of this, which is commercially sensitive. But we've got a series of recommendations in front of us that we appoint ITS Technology Group as a delivery partner, and that we then move to an agreement to enable the works for the fibre network in the Newcastle Town Deal area, and that we receive further reports and updates on the future, particularly on the digital hubs out in our communities, which will be a really good part of this plan when the infrastructure is in place. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That moves us to item number 6, which is Borough Local Plan Examination Costs and Funding. Andy.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is an item about the next stage of our local plan. We've just, of course, come to what I think I called it last full council the end of the beginning. In other words, our consultation on the plan, our public consultation, and what's happening at the moment is our officers are gathering together all the responses that we've had from that consultation, which will be then sent off, and I can't emphasise this strongly enough, in an unredacted form to the inspector along with our plan. So that's where we are now, and I'd like to thank everyone who took part in that consultation exercise for doing so. It shows engagement with our borough's future, and it's a really important thing. When that plan arrives at the planning inspectorate, which will be at the beginning of next year, it will go forward to examination. And what this item is about is anticipating that. So it's an item looking forward to what will happen. And unfortunately, these examiners don't come for free. As the report details, they charge a hefty fee per day. And they might also ask for very detailed information. So the King's ransom here is the fees that will be charged by the inspectorate and potentially consultancy backup that we will need to answer very, very specific and detailed questions in expertise areas which are outside this council. Now, the important thing is it looks like a lot of money, and indeed it is. Let's not be coy about that. But we should also go down to 2.3 in the report, which points out that this is an estimate. In other words, what we're doing here is in some ways saying this is possibly the worst possible scenario. I have every confidence that our officers have looked at this plan. We've looked at it, taken independent advice to sit to, and that is saying to us that he's strong and robust, and hopefully the inspectors will agree, and this will be a short, unproblematic process. But of course, inspectors are entitled to raise questions, and that will take time. So in that regard, what we're doing is putting aside an amount of money to make sure that this process, which has taken a long time, is a very important thing, will come to a successful fruition. We've also got more good news. So 2.3 says what we're talking about here is an estimate, not a hard guaranteed cost upon the council. If we look at 2.5, you can see that the previous government had a planning skills delivery fund, as they called it, and we bid for this fund, and we bid specifically for costs associated with the local plan, and we have recently received confirmation that we will be gaining £100,000 from this fund. So once again, although the figures look large, that figure is a soft figure, so to speak. It's an estimate, and now we've got a hard figure of 100,000, which we can put towards defraying some of those costs. So it's regrettable that this part of the process has a price tag attached to it. I would still want to stress to colleagues and everyone out there in the ether that this has been the right thing to do. It will protect our borough, make sure that our voice is heard in where our borough is going forward, and hopefully here we've got a maximum sum which can be defrayed substantially, but we do need to do this. So I commend this report to my colleagues.
Thank you, Andy. Second that, I think also good news about the grant, which will obviously help us to halve the costs of taking the local plan to its examination. I think, as you said, the process has seemed to go on forever with the local plan, but that's what's required. We've certainly gone out and consulted longer and more than necessary for a local plan, and that was really important that we did that as we went forward. But we also met the deadline which we wanted, which was the July council meeting window, which, as it turned out, was a really important deadline for us, because of the day later the new Deputy Prime Minister upped the housing figures across the board, and thankfully, because of the action of this council and the swift agreement of moving to this last consultation, has saved us for now from that extra housing in areas of the borough which would have suffered. So I think nothing further from me on that, other than that we approve the allocation of the 200,000 from the Budget Support Fund to fund the local local plan programme and examination. I think we also, just for clarity, put in that second recommendation there, that we note the successful bid for the 100,000 from the planning support grant, so that's there for all to see as well. All agreed? Agreed. Thank you. That brings us now to item 7, which is a proposed animal welfare charter. And David's leading on this one. David.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I welcome the introduction of this new proposed charter and look forward to working with residents to develop it further over time to meet our goal that no animal should suffer needlessly in Newcastle-under-Lyme. Now, the proposed Animal Welfare Charter started its life on the 24th of January 2024. The Silverdale Councillor Rupert Adcock, put through a motion that they would be to ban outright the giving of live animals as prizes in any form on Newcastle-under-Lyme Borough Council land. And it's kind of grown from there. And I'd like to congratulate the neighbourhood delivery team who have put together the charter in its current format. And I think they've done a great job. This charter puts in writing things that we're already doing, but I think it's really valuable to see it as a charter. The charter will be ongoing, not static, so it will change as time goes on. So as we see from the agenda item, the charter has already been through the Health, Wellbeing and Environment Scrutiny Committee on the 16th of September with only positive comments. So I ask that the Animal Welfare Charter be approved today by Cabinet. It will then go on to full council for formal approval on the 20th of November. So I'd like to submit the charter to Cabinet today. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, David. We do have a local councillor that wants to speak. I'll invite Richard Gorton to come to the spare seat at the end and ask her questions. Thank you, Richard. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I was always taught in local government you should praise when you see something you like and criticise what you don't like. And as far as the charter is concerned, I think it does deserve a good deal of praise. I think it's well written. I think it's well put together. And I think it actually reflects very well on the authority. Before coming to this meeting, I had the chance to discuss the charter with 2 or 3 of my Labour colleagues, and I can tell you that they strongly support the document. So I imagine that when it goes to full council next month, there will be cross-party support for the charter, and so there should be. I do have a couple of questions, which I thought I'd take the opportunity to ask now rather than wait until next month. The questions I say are very much in the context of supporting the document, but I'd be very interested to hear Cabinet's response to these couple of questions, and then I do have at the end a suggestion. So my first question is, Council discourages the use of pesticides in all council-controlled public open spaces. So my question is, what about allotments? Most allotment holders I know don't use pesticides because of the consequences for pollinators. So will the council use the charter to reinforce the message to allotment holders that the use of pesticides has dire consequences for wildlife? My second question is, what plans will put in place to promote awareness of the Charter. The Charter will be of interest to a range of groups, from gardeners to anglers, pet owners, and people who run businesses or services that involve animals. So apart from putting the Charter on the council website, what steps are planned to raise awareness of it? My final bit, Chairman, is a suggestion. Has any thought been given to doing a version for schools? Because I think there would be an awful lot of interest in schools around animal welfare. So I leave it there, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gorton. David, response?
Yes, thank you. I've already checked with the Sustainable Environment Director regarding pesticides on Borough Council land, and that's not going to be done anymore as per the Charter. I hadn't considered, I have to confess, on allotments, but I will discuss this with the Service Director for Neighbourhood Delivery, who has responsibility for allotments, and I'll just come back to you in writing with a formal answer. There is a press release going out today after this Cabinet meeting, and the Charter will be on the Council website. I'm not aware of any other areas, but once again, I'll check with the media people, or perhaps the CEO or the chair will have some information on what would normally happen in this area. And I think it's an excellent idea to do one for schools, and I'm sure the Sustainable Environment team that do the school visits and the litter picking will be they will welcome the idea to go to schools, but hopefully I can get that up and running very quickly. And again, I'll report back to confirm that that's being done. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think when it comes to the use of pesticides, we did pass the nature recovery motion a couple of years ago, which had in there that the council would, from its own operations, phase out the use of pesticides. So I think we're on that track already, weren't we? And this charter will reinforce that. I think getting it out there is quite right, Councillor Gorton, getting people to know about it. I think we can do that through our many channels of communication as well. But also, something we're launching pretty soon is a civic pride initiative, which we'll hear more about towards the end of October. And I think this is a good thing to put into the whole mix on civic pride and promotion of how we can be good citizens within the borough, of all ages, of all backgrounds, and wherever you are in the borough. And this can be part of something we push through that civic pride. So I really welcome this animal welfare charter. Thank you to the council that brought it forward, and obviously to the scrutiny committee that's had a look at it as well. I think we have a good charter to take forward here, and look forward to it going to full council and being ratified, and we get it on the book, so to speak. And I think then the job starts of making sure it percolates out into our communities. But you will get back to Councillor Gorton, David, on those sort of queries relating to allotments, etc., which will make sure you get the information before full council. Thank you for your question, Richard. So all agreed that the charter be accepted and goes to full council. Great. Thank you. That's great. That brings us to the forward plan, which is attached at the end of our agenda. Obviously, the first couple of pages, which we go through, they are today's meeting, or the first page and a half. And then we're into our November meeting, where we're going to have performance data, traffic regulation orders, car park strategy, and then 3 really important items relating to updates on the regeneration of York Place, Midway, and also Rycroft, and then also an update from the Town Deal Board in Kisgrove on the awarding of the contract for the shared service area in the which is part of the Town Deal there. And then also our usual Wally's Quarry update. And then we have a couple of items there already on for December, which is the draft saving proposals as part of the budget setting process. And again, that Wally's Quarry update in December. Can we agree the forward plan? Agreed. Okay, item 8 is item 9 is urgent business. Don't have any urgent business in reports, but I think be good to just talk about. I can't see it because there's a big wall in the way and a screen, but we have our wonderful Queen Elizabeth statue that was unveiled on Friday out there. And as I've been sitting here, I've seen people going past this window, going round to visit it. I came.
There's a photograph being taken as you speak, Leader.
And a photograph being taken as we speak of somebody. It's interactive. It's for the community and unveiled on Friday. It's gone down really well. National press coverage as well for that statue. So if anybody's watching this that hasn't been into town since last Friday, do come down to Queen's Gardens, have a look at the Queen Elizabeth statue. It's well worth a visit, and it's a real credit to the sculptor and also to the work that the council did to ensure we got the sponsorship in and to get it in there and looking so good in our wonderful Queen's Gardens. Thank you to the officers that were involved in that programme as well to get that in there, and such a good event on Friday that everybody really enjoyed as well to launch the Queen Elizabeth statue. So well worth a visit if you're in town. That moves us to item 10, which is the disclosure of events information. Resolve that the public be excluded from the meeting to consideration of the reports that are on confidential, and that's the one about the contract award for digital infrastructure. Do we all agree? Agreed. So we will turn off the live broadcast.